What's going on, everyone? Welcome into a live edition of Falcons Today. I appreciate everyone for taking time out of the Thursday to come hang out with us here because we have a fun show planned out for you all today. We're going to run through Mel Kiper's big board. We're going to look at some free agent targets for Atlanta. We've got a lot of fun topics to get to on today's video. But as always, we like to let the audience build up a little bit. Personally, I'm a very punctual person. I like being early, not on time, and I cannot stand when people are late. But I understand the world does not operate the same way I do. So, while we let the people that are running a little bit behind, I say all that, and we were 2 minutes behind today, but that's okay. That was for a different reason. Shout out your city in the comment section right now. We're going to get the chat building up a little bit here while we let all of the slow pokes and the latecomers file into the room. So shout out your city for me in the chat. Over 65 people tuned in already. Just 9 likes, though. I don't want to be that really annoying YouTuber who begs for likes, but please do like the video because it really helps push the stream to more Falcons fans. All right, Time Man the Buckeye. I saw you in the chat before we hit stream or went live on there. Seeps is out of town. Rolly's not. How did you know they're out of town, though? That's what I'm concerned about. I think Time Man the Buckeye has this office bugged. That, or this is actually before Colin got here. We went through about a 1 month stretch of Chat Sports where every day at 2:30ish, we'd hear meowing in this one wall. And we thought there was a cat stuck in the wall. And we had some serious office conversations about putting a hole in the wall to let the cat out.
You're not pulling my leg, are you?
No, we're being dead serious. And ultimately, the meows just went away. So we don't know if the cat died in the wall or what happened. Schrodinger's cat. All right. Shout out your city for me in the chat, though. Enough about our cat theories here. Brody is in Phoenix City, Alabama. I've got Minnesota in the house from ATLMN. Let's see. London, Ontario from Lee. What's going on, Mr. Lee? Ben is in Connecticut. I got Athens, Georgia from Dustin Terry. Dustin, what's your favorite bar in Austin? In Athens? Let me know in the comment section. Chris is in Detroit. I've got Macon, Georgia from Hill. I got Suffolk, Virginia. I got Jonathan watching from Miami. What's going on, everyone? Emmanuel is in ATL. I got Canton, Ohio in the house, or Canton, Georgia, maybe. I got Columbus, Georgia. Let me know where you are tuning in from, as David is watching from Mississippi. And I got Dallas from Michael Rodriguez and Mr. Banks in North Dakota, and Luke clarifying Canton, Georgia. I said Canton, Ohio, but I was like, I feel like it's more likely to be Canton, Georgia. Now, we're going to run through some of the questions we're going to get to later on in the video because I want you guys to get the first ones to be able to respond. Would you sign Danielle Hunter? We're going to talk about some free agent targets later on in the video, but I do want to get the pulse of the room right now. What's the overall vibe on the idea of signing Danielle Hunter? Type Y for yes, type N for no. He had a phenomenal season for the Minnesota Vikings. So what are we thinking? Yes or no? The only real downside to signing Hunter is the contract is not going to be cheap. And the age, he's turning 30 in October. So if you don't think he's worth that money at this stage of his career, I could listen to that argument. But I'm in the camp of sign Danielle Hunter. So let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section, as I'm seeing a flurry of yeses and nos right now. It's not like everyone is on the same page. OG Professor is in some very hostile areas at the moment. We got some Wi-Fi working out there. What's going on?
We got a couple of maybes, too. Like, what's
I
the
got some
maybe
maybes.
condition?
The maybe, you know what? I'm okay with maybe, because here's the thing with free agency. For about a month and a half, 2 months, maybe even a little bit longer, people within the same fan base go at each other's throats when someone says, you shouldn't sign Danielle Hunter. Or let's just use Danielle Hunter as the example here. You shouldn't sign Danielle Hunter. Or we should sign Danielle Hunter. And if they disagree, they come at one another. And then free agency rolls around, and let's say the Vikings re-sign Danielle Hunter. And it's like, well, Atlanta was never really in the mix to sign him. So we're going to go at each other's throats when in reality, it might not even be an option on the table. You know what I mean? So let me know whether or not you would like to sign Danielle Hunter to the Atlanta Falcons roster. One other thing, we're going to have a mailbag later on in the video. So if you have any questions at all, use #Falcons. That's not like a a request. It's more of a need because if you don't use it, our software can't pull the question and put it in our computer, and then we can't put it on screen for everyone to see. If you want to guarantee your question, your take, your opinion, whatever it might be, gets on screen for all of our thousands of viewers to see, Super Chat, and we'll toss it on screen for everyone to see. Now, speaking of Super Chats, we do have a fun Super Chat menu yet again for today's video. $2, you get a shout out. Everyone can see your name and see whatever take you have to share. $5 Super Chat. We did this last week. I thought it went pretty well. So $5 Super Chat, you can sponsor Falcons today, meaning last week we did it with, what's his face?
Started with an A.
It did.
Oh, my goodness. But yeah, he was featured in a show,
Dude,
beginning
the
and
name is
intro,
escaping me right
or
now.
outro.
And,
feature in the middle, too.
This is awful radio. This is awful radio. But whatever. You get a sponsor on today's video. I mean, hey, Falcons Today is brought to you by Michael Rodriguez or Falcons Prods or Eric Ortiz or Luke or Nick Thatch. $10, we're doing a Michael Vick autographed jersey giveaway at the end of the month. So this is going to be a month-long raffle we do, and every $10 Super Chat you send in, you get added to it. So if you want to come away with a Michael Vick autographed jersey for potentially just $10, send a $10 Super Chat in. And at the last live show of the month of February, which is going to be 2 weeks from today, I would say, right? The 29th, it's a leap year. We will do a drawing, and whoever sends in a $10 Super Chat will have a chance to win this autographed Michael Vick jersey. And then I think I sometimes forget how thankful I should be for everyone that does spend their time and their money with us here at Falcons Today supporting the channel. So you don't have to Super Chat. By no means are you required to Super Chat to hang around here or anything like that. But if you do want to go above and beyond to show your gratitude and support of the channel, we definitely appreciate it, and we try to show as much love back as possible for your Super Chat. So thank you so much to everyone who supports the channel. Now, coming up on today's show, we're going to look at Mel Kiper's latest big board, because with Atlanta picking at number 8, they're not pigeonholed into one position, right? If you're a Bears or a Commanders fan or even a Patriots fan, you don't really care what the big boards look like because you know you're going with one of 3 guys most likely. But Atlanta at 8, they got to be flexible. They don't know what's going to happen before them. So they got to have a good plan in place of if this guy's gone, we're going here. If he's gone, we're going there. And if he's gone, we're trading the pick. So we're going to look at Mel Kiper's latest big board, some free agent targets. I'm very excited for that segment as well. And then that mailbag we just talked about. Okay. Are we ready to jump into a live show? Absolutely not. 107 viewers, 27 likes. That is worse than my middle school Instagram ratio, without a doubt. Did you ever like your own post? I was adamant against never liking my own Instagram post. I would go and look at other people's Instagram accounts in middle school and high school to see if they liked their own posts. I was like the liking police.
You were the liking police and you would judge them for it, or just?
I would judge hardcore. Hardcore. Okay, so 36 likes. Let's get ourselves to 40 likes. Let's get 4 more likes, and then we're going to get today's show off the ground. So we got Mel Kiper big board coming up, free agent targets coming up, mailbag after that. We got a good show on tap for everyone today. And we got 37 likes, so we're 3 likes away. You want to get the next thing ready on screen for us? 113 people tuned in. 1 like away. Chip, 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 chipping away, baby. Let's go. Chip, 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 chipping away. Are we ready to jump into a mailbag? So, Alex Colbert. Should the Falcons draft J.J. McCarthy with the 8th pick? Good question. Please, you have to use hashtag Falcons because I'm reading it right now, but our software is not going to pull that question because it only searches for hashtag Falcons. Are we ready to jump into the first segment on a live show? Okay. Let's do it. Here we go. Welcome into Falcons Today. Coming up on this edition of the show, we're going to react to Mel Kiper's latest big board because Atlanta at pick number 8, they got to have a few plans in place, right? They should not go into the draft with just one guy at the top of their board and zero in on him. They have to be ready to be flexible in case some chaos happens between picks 1 through 7. Now, first, let me just say this. Free agency will change things. If the Falcons go out in free agency and they sign edge rusher Josh Allen and Jadeveon Clowney, Zadarius Smith, Josh Uche, Leonard Floyd, they're probably not going to go edge rusher at number 8. And the same is true if they sign a big-name wide receiver. So don't focus too much on the position. For now, just take the next month and a half and focus on learning the best players. And then once we get through free agency and we have a list of our favorite players, we can look at the positions and figure out what the biggest need is. But for now, focus on the players, not so much the positions in Atlanta's needs. So without further ado, let's look at Mel Kiper's big board. He put out top 25 names, and here is 1 through 5. Number 1, no real surprise, USC quarterback Caleb Williams. Number 2, Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver out of Ohio State. Jayden Daniels comes in at number 3, ahead of Drake Maye at number 5, and Rome Odunze sandwiches both Daniels and Maye. Now, don't get your heart set on Caleb Williams or Marvin Harrison. No chance they are there at number 8. And unless Atlanta moves up, they're going to be looking at maybe someone like Jayden Daniels, Rome Odunze, or Drake Maye. So let's talk about Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye for a moment, because I have heard some very low-level whispers and chatter that Drake Maye could fall a little bit in the draft. And maybe Atlanta at 8 could be the beneficiary of a no good reason slip out of Drake Maye. Or maybe Drake Maye goes where I think he goes, which is number 2, and Jayden Daniels could be the play. Now, when talking about these two quarterbacks, I think they are both studs. I think they are both going to be successful NFL quarterbacks. I know every single year, quarterbacks always look so good coming out of college, and there's no way they miss. And then you get guys like Sam Darnold, where everything looked great at USC. Why didn't it work out? That's not the case this year. I mean, maybe I'm just a prisoner of the moment, but I really do think Drake Maye and Jayden Daniels are the real deal. I think this quarterback class is the best one we have seen in decades, maybe even, when we look back at it. Daniels and Drake Maye, you can't go wrong with either one. Let's move on to Mel Kiper's big board picks or rankings number 6 through 10. At number 6, he has Malik Nabers, wide receiver from LSU. Number 7, the local Brock Bowers from UGA. At number 8, it's the Notre Dame tackle Joe Alt, followed by Olu Fashanu, a Penn State tackle, and then Dallas Turner, the outside linebacker / edge rusher out of Alabama at number 10. Now let's focus on the top 2 wide receivers after Marvin Harrison Jr., because he's not going to be available to Atlanta most likely. Rome Odunze and Malik Nabers. Let's talk about these two guys because both put up tremendous seasons in 2023. Let's first start off by talking about Rome Odunze. He's 6'3", 217 pounds. He's got a very rare combination of size and speed. Every single year in the draft, there are fast guys. There's going to be a fast guy in this year's draft, and there's going to be a fast guy in next year's draft. You don't often see, though, fast and 6'3". Usually it's one or the other. Rome Odunze, he's got both. And on top of that, he's just an athletic freak. He really is a star wide receiver in the making. And like how I said, this quarterback class is loaded. Maybe I'm just being a prisoner of the moment, but I think this wide receiver class is loaded. Now, that's not the same for all positions this year. I don't think it's a good running back class. I don't think it's a very good edge rusher class. But it's a great quarterback and wide receiver class. Something Atlanta needs of this offseason. Now, let's talk about Malik Nabers. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds. Now, speed is his best trait. Rome Odunze is fast. Nabers is faster, and he can take the top off the defense. He is a big play machine. And just because one guy is good at something doesn't mean another guy isn't very good at that. But when you think about what Malik Nabers did so well last year in Baton Rouge, it is the big play factor. And every single year, NFL GMs just start moving big play factorness up their priorities because they are looking for guys who can take the top off the defense. Because the NFL, everyone's getting faster and stronger. So what's the next twist? Well, who can make the explosive plays? Malik Nabers is as explosive as they come. I personally think they are both home run picks. If one goes at 7 and Atlanta takes the other one at 8, I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it, right? Remember, there was a time frame where people were arguing who's better, Julio Jones or Antonio Brown, when they were both at the top of their game. Reality is the answer is yes. They were both tremendous. And I think the same can be true for Malik Nabers and Rome Odunze. Now, if you were to pick a wide receiver, who would you rather have, Nabers or Odunze? Get in the comment section and let me know down below by typing the initials for the player you would rather have. I like them both, but I am leaning towards Malik Nabers. Now let's move on to another player on Mel Kiper's big board. At number 10, it was Dallas Turner. Don't worry, I'm not going to neglect the edge rushing unit here. So Dallas Turner comes off a very productive season for Alabama. 14.5 tackles for loss, 10 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. So you can check the productivity box. And he also has the God-given physical traits that you look for in an edge rusher. Size, speed, strength, bend. He's got the whole package. But here's what Mel Kiper had to say on Dallas Turner. He's not the caliber of pass rusher as former teammate Will Anderson Jr., who went number 3 overall in April. Turner had 60 quarterback pressures from 2021 to 2022, while Anderson had 130. So, when Anderson was always getting to the passer first, it's tough to judge the other guy. And this is what makes evaluating Dallas Turner so difficult. But I'm just not as high on Turner as other people are. It's not his fault that he was lined up opposite of some great edge rushers like Will Anderson Jr. that got to the quarterback first, and so obviously they couldn't really get the spotlight on them until their final season in Tuscaloosa. But ultimately, I'm just not where everyone else is on Dallas Turner. I do think there is something to when you play in an Alabama Nick Saban defense. There's going to be a little bit of extra spotlight that comes to you. You're going to get the benefit of the doubt more often than not. And ultimately, I think Dallas Turner can be a good edge rusher. I just don't. As of mid-February, I'm not sold on Turner being worthy of the 8th overall pick. Now let's move on to some other guys on Mel Kiper's big board. Brian Thomas Jr., really good wide receiver out of LSU at number 11. We got some offensive linemen entering the mix now. And then we get a run at corner. Cooper DeJean out of Iowa at 13. Nate Wiggins out of Clemson at 14. Terrion Arnold, number 15, out of Alabama. So let's take a closer look at those 3 corners, because there's a good chance the Falcons could be targeting cornerback in this draft class. If they don't think A.J. Terrell is worthy of an extension, if they find an edge rusher or a wide receiver in free agency, maybe they go with a bit of a safer pick in corner. And I think these 3 guys are pretty safe picks in terms of very low bust potential. Now let's start with Cooper DeJean. 6'1", 207 pounds. 7 career interceptions. He had 3 pick sixes with Iowa in 2022. And think about it, that 2022 Iowa defense that had Lucas Van Ness, Jack Campbell, both first-round picks. Riley Moss went 3rd round. But Cooper DeJean might have been the best of them all, but he stayed for an extra year in Iowa City. Now, unfortunately, an injury in practice in November ended his year for the Hawkeyes a little bit early, but he is sticky in coverage. He's got great ball skills, an excellent run stopper, and he's got the big play factor. If not for just an awful officiating job, he would have had a punt return for a touchdown against Minnesota. We've seen him take it to the house before. He's kind of got the whole package. So what's the issue? Should I just say it out loud? He's a white corner. People don't want to trust white corners. They are unicorns. They do not exist anymore. But if you think that he might be the next great white hope, then Cooper DeJean is the next white corner in the NFL to stick. I mean, I'm just saying the quiet part out loud. We're all thinking it. Now let's move on to the next corner, Nate Wiggins. He is 6'2", 185 pounds. And if I could sum him up in 2 words, long and fast. He's got the length of a corner. You know when the combine rolls around, people make a big deal out of how much someone weighs or a quarterback's hand size. And it's like, what are we doing here? I've always said, if there is one measurement to look at, it is arm length, wingspan, and height for a cornerback. Because 6'2" for 6'1", that half an inch, that's the difference between a pass breakup or getting mossed. And you want to have that extra bit of length as a corner. And then the speed, the ability to recover. If a wide receiver beats you off the snap, to not be completely sunk in the first second of the play, that's an incredible ability that Nate Wiggins has. Now, let's move on to the third guy on Mel Kiper's big board, which is Terrion Arnold. 6 foot tall, 195 pounds. He's got loads of experience, okay? 21 career games played, 6 interceptions during 2 years as a starter in Tuscaloosa. He's a shutdown corner. If there is a cornerback in this draft class that I'm going to say is going to be a starting cornerback for 7-8 years guaranteed, it's Terrion Arnold, which is why he's my favorite of the three. And I'm honestly game to go corner in round 1. I understand that at this moment, edge rusher is a huge need for the Falcons. Historically, they've never really had one since John Abraham almost 20 years ago at this point. We're getting close to that, at least 15. But I don't want to panic pick an edge rusher. I'm not in the business of just taking an edge rusher because you need an edge rusher. Everyone needs an edge rusher. But when you finish 7-10 for a third straight year, you have more than just one need as a team. And if the Falcons feel like one of those three corners could be a Pro Bowl caliber player, go create one of the best secondaries in football, in A.J. Terrell and one of those rookie corners. And I'll tell you what, Bryce Young, Baker Mayfield, and Derek Carr, they may not have a pass rusher breathing down their neck, but they won't have an open guy to throw to. And whoever you do have a pass rusher, they're going to get to the quarterback because those corners are going to give them some extra time in coverage. Now, before we get on to the rest of Mel Kiper's big board, I do want to fill you guys in on an awesome deal still going on at Fanatics, which is this Falcons hat and t-shirt combination. If you want to get some new Falcons gear in your wardrobe, go to chatsports.com/ATL combo. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. So make sure you check it out today if you want to get this awesome Falcons hat and t-shirt combo. Moving on here to Mel Kiper's big board, 16 through 20. Laiatu Latu, the outside linebacker out of UCLA. Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo, the do-it-all DB who was the star of the Senior Bowl. Then we got another offensive lineman and then another offensive lineman. But in between those two guys up front, I'm sorry I'm not giving a lot of love to the old lineman. I just know the Falcons aren't going to take one. You've got Jared Verse, an edge rusher out of Florida State. So let's talk about the two edge rushers because I think these two guys of those 5 players are the most likely selections at number 8. Latu and Verse. Jared Verse stayed for an extra year at Florida State, and he put up some really productive numbers for the Seminoles. Laiatu Latu is a very interesting story. His career was over, or so he thought, at Washington, where he started his collegiate career off. Then he transfers to UCLA, gets some medical clearance, and put up phenomenal numbers for the Bruins. Now, the NFL, all their team doctors, they're going to do a lot of medical research on Latu and whether or not he is physically fit to play in the National Football League. But if everything checks out, these are two edge rushers to watch for. I think 8 is a bit on the early side for them, but still, if Atlanta falls in love with one of these two guys, maybe they don't care what all the national media says about where they're supposed to go, and they go get their guy, which I'm not afraid of. And to wrap up the big board, we got Tyler Guyton, an offensive lineman out of Oklahoma. Darius Robinson, defensive end from Mizzou. His stock has been rising lately. J.J. McCarthy, Michigan quarterback at 23. Amarius Mims from UGA. And Keon Coleman, the Florida State wide receiver, who only knew one thing and one thing only, scoring touchdowns last year. Now, J.J. McCarthy of the bunch right there is probably the most intriguing to Atlanta because we said this before on the channel, but I keep going back to Raheem Morris's press conference when asked about what he's looking for in a quarterback, elite processors, and what are all the NFL scouts saying about J.J. McCarthy? He is an elite processor. Some people think he might even be the second best quarterback in this draft class. I've got my concerns. My concern is not so much about J.J. McCarthy as a player, like what we've seen from him. It's what we haven't seen from him. And that's a lot because they ran the ball a ton in Ann Arbor last year. And so that doesn't create the fakest shake to get a good idea of what J.J. McCarthy is as a passer. But I am not on board with using the 8th overall pick on a quarterback who I think threw the ball 20 or more yards down the field, something like 40 or so times in 2023. That's just too small of a sample size, too risky of a selection. We could talk about J.J. McCarthy in round 2, but the 8th overall pick, when you pick top 10, 1, you don't want to be picking top 10 unless you have someone else's pick. 2, if you are picking top 10, you have got to make it count. And J.J. McCarthy at pick number 8, it's just too risky for me. Now, who do you want to pick at number 8? Let me know down below in the comment section which player from this year's draft class you would love to see the Atlanta Falcons select with the 8th overall pick. Now, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I always appreciate those of you that take time out of your day and come hang out with us here at Falcons Today. Okay. We got a super chat. Oh, Archangel is in the chat. Good to see you, Archangel. Appreciate you. Okay. Super chat rolled in from Luke, but then he took the message back. So I don't know what Luke said. Oh, we got it here. Well, I don't know if Luke Lewin wants it to be shared, but oh well. We'll throw it on screen. Luke, I know you retracted the message, but our software kept it, so hopefully there's nothing incriminating here. I'm really into getting Kirk, then draft a rookie QB in the second round and let him sit behind Kirk for a year or two. Luke, I don't think there's anything to be embarrassed about. I don't think this is a bad idea at all. And it's funny because that's kind of like how Kirk Cousins' career started. We talked about this on a previous episode here. Kirk Cousins was the Washington Redskins 4th-round pick the same year they took RG3. I remember listening to an interview with Kirk Cousins where he said, the team I did not want to go to was Washington because they already had their quarterback. So there was no opportunity for me to really break through. Ultimately, some injuries to RG3 opened a path for Kirk Cousins, and the rest is history. But I'm on board with going Kirk Cousins and going quarterback in round 2. I mean, sure, Penix and Bo Nix are a bit older, so you're losing some good years of their career, but it's not like Kirk Cousins is going to be this team's starting quarterback for the next 5, 6, 7 years. So if you want to go Captain Kirk in free agency and J.J. McCarthy in round 2 and just best player available in round 1, you're maximizing your short-term window, and you are still investing in the team's long-term quarterback play with that round 2 selection. And if it doesn't work out, yes, you don't want to miss on round 2 picks, but ultimately missing a round 2 pick is not going to make or break a franchise. Missing a top 10 pick, that could set you back a little bit. All right, who do you want to pick at number 8? Let me know in the comment section. What are we thinking? What are we thinking, boys and girls? If it was me, Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels at number 8 would be very cool. I don't think he's going to be there. Sometimes I see these mock drafts, like Warren Sharp from, by the way, did you know his last name isn't Sharp?
Say that again?
Warren Sharp, it's because Sharp Football Analysis, like Sharp is in the adjective.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it comes from.
So he's just Warren.
I don't know what his last name is.
Branding is Sharp.
That's what someone told me, and I've been saying that forever. So maybe someone can fact check me, but I'm 95% sure about that, which is very strange. He put out a mock draft today. It had Drake May fall to 12. And I was like, fall to 11. I'm like, what are we doing? That's not happening. And I don't think we're going to see Jayden Daniels slip out of the top 3, top 4. Maybe he falls out of 3. Maybe New England goes Marvin Harrison because they have no wide receivers at all. And if they don't fall in love with Jayden Daniels, they won't pass on a surefire thing at wide receiver for a maybe quarterback. And if that happens, Atlanta could jump from 8-4, 8-5 with the Cardinals or Chargers, who do have quarterbacks, to get Jayden Daniels. But I got to feel like Gerard Mayo is going to want to go take Jayden Daniels. Are you fact-checking me? What are we finding out here? He's a Warren. I told you. I don't think his last name is Sharp, which I don't think he expected to get this much airtime on Falcons today. Okay. I like Michael Penix. I've been one of the biggest Michael Penix stands for a while, As long as the medicals check out, I can get behind it. Now, we do have some new viewers who just tuned in. So, with this super chat from Luke, well, he just got himself entered into an opportunity to win this autographed Michael Vick jersey. So, the way it works is we're doing this month-long giveaway, which means at the last show on Thursday of the month of February, we're going to do a raffle to see who gets the Michael Vick jersey. So, if you want to be a part of it, today, next week, sometime, $10 super chat gets you entered. As I say that, Taylor with a $10 super chat. Let's go, Taylor. Good to see you, my man. I hope you're doing well. Taylor, we'll throw that super chat on screen for you in just a moment. Oh, I like it. Taylor Elwell, what's going on? Computer is loading in 3, 2, 1. Oh, being slow. Okay. Falcon Prods, Marvin Harrison Jr., Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, Malik Nabers, Brock Bowers. I really like Brock Bowers is an interesting prospect because he hasn't really gotten a lot of attention in terms of like Falcons circles because you have Kyle Pitts, so it just doesn't feel like a great fit. But if you think Brock Bowers is going to be the real deal and you don't think Kyle Pitts is going to be here for much longer, why not? Right? Sure, maybe in 2020, what year is it now? 2024? Damn, that's gone too fast. Sure, he might have a huge role in 2024 because of Kyle Pitts, but if you're like, hey, I don't think we're going to pick up Kyle Pitts' fifth-year option, or we don't think he's going to be here long-term, I mean, Brock Bowers is the best tight end prospect we have seen since, I mean, last year we did get Sam Laporta, and he was really good. But still, it's been a while since we've seen this good of a tight end. Like, Kyle Pitts, of course, broke the NFL record the earliest a tight end went, but I like Brock Bowers more right now than I liked Kyle Pitts back when he was drafted. Taylor, $10 super chat. Good to see you, my man. Give me Drake Maye at number 5. He's Matty Ice 2.0. Also, that Vic jersey is money. It is pretty cool. It is very cool. And it's autographed right there. I like Drake Maye a lot. I mean, if Drake Maye does start to slip, like if the Bears go Caleb Williams and the Commanders go Jayden Daniels, and everyone's like, whoa, didn't see that coming. And then New England at 3 decides we just want to go with the safe route. Marvin Harrison Jr., he's a future Hall of Fame wide receiver. Let's not overthink it. And then number 4 is the Cardinals, and they're like, whoa, well, we're not going quarterback. So how about we take the next best wide receiver, Malik Nabers or Odunze? And then Atlanta calls the Chargers at 5, and Harbaugh goes, fall from 5 to 8 and pick up a second rounder or a third rounder? Yeah, we'll play ball with that. They can still get their offensive tackle, Joe Alt, or anyone, Olu Fashanu at number 8. I mean, a lot of dominoes have to fall for that to happen. But Taylor, I like where your head's at, dude. I like where your head's at. Okay. Are we ready to jump into the next segment? Okay. We've got Falcons free agent targets to look at next on the show. So if you are a little curious who who Arthur Blank could be spending his money on, that's the best part about free agency. Sometimes people get really worked up over like, that's way too big of a contract. And if all you care about is the cap space, I get it. But I don't want anyone to not want to sign a player because you're worried about Arthur Blank's wallet. They're billionaires. Spend the money. That's the whole point of being an owner. You get to play mad in real life. Spend the money. Okay. Here we go. Let's jump into our second segment on today's show. On today's show, I want to revisit a video we did on the channel earlier, which is this 5-step plan for Terry Fontenot and the Falcons to free up cap space. And then I kind of thought, well, if you're going to free up cap space, I should probably present some free agent targets to sign with new said money. So if you didn't watch this video, I'd recommend pausing the current video you're watching right now, watching this one right here, and then coming back to this current video because I think you'll have a much better understanding of what we're talking about on today's show. But to remind everyone, these were the 5 cap-saving moves we came up with on that video we just looked at a moment ago. Moving on from Taylor Heineke, Lorenzo Carter, Jonnu Smith, extending A.J. Terrell, restructuring Jake Matthews' contract. And if you do all those things, you truly want to maximize your 2024 spending abilities, well, you'll have about $65.8 million in cap space. So if you have $65 million to spend, not going to spend all of it, but you're definitely going to spend some of it, if not most. How about this guy right here? Danielle Hunter, Minnesota Vikings edge rusher. He has been one of the best edge rushers, just statistically, over the last 6-7 seasons. And when you look at the free agent edge rushers this year, I could have gone with Josh Allen or Brian Burns, but I really do believe those guys are going to get re-signed by their current teams. I think the Vikings, though, they are looking to reset a little bit. And it's not a great time for them to get an expensive player on their books when they're not really maybe shaping up to be a major win-now team. We'll have to wait and see how Minnesota plays their hand. So let's talk about Danielle Hunter. He comes off a phenomenal season. One of the NFL sack leaders, 16.5 sacks, 23 tackles for loss. So he does not just go for the quarterback. He can stop the run as well. Now, Spotrac comes out with contract predictions for a bunch of the marquee free agents. They're just a computer-simulated projection based on the age, the stats, and other previous contracts given out for that position group. And they projected a 6-year, $60 million contract for Hunter. That's an average of $20 million a season. Now, I found this stat to be rather interesting. From 2015 to present, Danielle Hunter is one of 7 players with 5 or more 10-plus sack seasons. And keep in mind, in that stretch, he missed an entire year 1 year and missed a good chunk of another season as well. And he's still one of only 7 players with 5 or more 10-plus sack seasons. Now, the hiccup is, I don't know if this really is that big of a hiccup. He turns 30 years old in October. So if you don't feel like a 30-year-old or almost 30-year-old edge rusher is worth $60 million, may I remind you about the greatest pass rusher in Atlanta Falcons history, John Abraham, who came over from the Jets. And you can look at his numbers from when he was 22, when he entered the league, till he was 29, and from when he was 30 to 35. And sure, there are some dips, but he played 3 fewer games and had 1.5 sack less in his 30s compared to his 20s. So I don't think anyone should be completely turned off of Danielle Hunter's going to be old. He's on the wrong side of 30 soon. There are some great edge rushers who play great football well into their 30s. And I think Danielle Hunter at 16.5 sacks at the age of 28, 29 years old is not going to wake up on his birthday in October and forget how to play football. So let me know, would you sign Danielle Hunter? Yes or no? Give me your opinion down below in the comment section. You know I love to see what you guys have to say on the different topics we talk about on today's video. Now, if they sign Danielle Hunter, ballpark range of $53 million remaining in cap space. So they can still spend plenty more money. By the way, this ballpark range, don't look at the average salary, $20 million, and just subtract that from the cap space. That's not how the cap hit works. And ultimately, that's all we're looking for here. Next free agent, wide receiver Michael Pittman. We haven't talked about Michael Pittman a lot on today's show or on any previous show. Well, I'll explain why in a moment. But let's at least look at Michael Pittman's career. 4 seasons for the Indianapolis Colts, 2 years over 1,000 yards, was a part of some rough quarterback play during that stretch. A lot of changing of the guards, right? But still, despite going from a rookie to Gardner Minshew, he put up 1,100 yards, four touchdowns, and hauled in 109 grabs. Now, why have we not talked about Michael Pittman a lot on this channel? I'm not ignoring him. It's because I've been giving much more love to T. Higgins, who I think is a much better wide receiver than Michael Pittman Jr. However, rumors have come out of Cincinnati that the Bengals fully expect to franchise tag T. Higgins, which would take him off the market. And if that's the case, Atlanta would have to do a tag and trade or sign and trade, basically, of franchise or Bengals franchise him, and then Atlanta trades for him and gives him an extension, kind of like what happened with Devontae Adams. So that's not a true free agent signing, so we'll remove T. Higgins from the equation for a moment. Here are some other free agent wide receivers, though, if you're not a big fan of Michael Pittman. I like Mike Evans, but I don't think Mike Evans at 30 years old is a good fit for the 2024 Falcons. They're looking to go young, and I don't think this is a good time to bring on a receiver who's ready to join a win-now team And the Falcons are kind of in that territory, but also they still have some strides to make after 3 straight 7-win years. Calvin Ridley's a free agent. Hopefully he re-signs with Jacksonville. That way the Falcons can get a second rounder. Gabe Davis from Buffalo, Marquise Brown, Darnell Mooney, Noah Brown, Tyler Boyd, and KJ Osborne. Some other guys to keep an eye on. Now, as for Michael Pittman's contract, Spotrac projected it to be a 4-year, $90 million contract. That's an average of $22.7 million. That seems a bit on the high side, especially when you factor in the last 2 off seasons have not been very lucrative for wide receiver free agents. Like Christian Kirk's gotten the biggest contract in the last 2 years. Allen Lazard was the highest paid free agent wide receiver last year. Teams are going to the draft to supplement their wide receiver needs. Now, he turns 27 years old in October, so he still has some really good years. He has his best years in front of him. So I don't think this would be a bad signing by any team. I don't think it's going to be this high. I think it's going to be closer to like 4 years, $80 million, which if that's the case, you might be thinking to yourself, why wouldn't the Colts just do that? Think about the Indianapolis Colts for a moment. Have they ever signed a big-name receiver in free agency? No. I mean, think about that Parks and Rec scene when Andy Dwyer is talking about all the great wide receivers that Indianapolis has drafted. Austin Collie, Reggie Wayne, they love developing wide receivers like they did with Michael Pittman Jr. So if they think that he is worth $60 million and another team thinks he's worth $70 million, they'll let him walk for $70 million, whatever that number might be, because they have never been in the market of paying free agent wide receivers big bucks. So if Atlanta signs Michael Pittman Jr., ballpark free agency cap space available, $43 million. So still plenty of dough to shell out from Arthur Blank's wallet. Now, we're going to talk about some more free agents in just a second. But first, a quick shout out to our sponsor today, which is Game Time. If you are thinking of going to an Atlanta Hawks game or any other sporting event in your local area, make sure you visit Game Time first, because I want all of our viewers to save as much money as possible. And with Game Time, you can do that by downloading the Game Time app and redeeming the code FalconsChat for $20 off. So if you are a spur-of-the-moment person, Game Time is the place to be, because they actually will sell tickets to events even an hour after it begins. So if you're like, you know what, it's tip-off right now at State Farm Arena, let's go to the Hawks game, well, you can do that with Game Time. So download the Game Time app today. Use code FalconsChat for $20 off. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Once again, shout out to Game Time for supporting Falcons today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. They have got you guys covered. Now let's get back to some free agent targets Atlanta could be spending their big money on with all the cap-saving moves we talked about in that previous video. Number 3, Darnell Mooney. Now, you could probably go with one or the other, and these two receivers are in different tiers in my eyes. Or you could be like that one old El Paso commercial and go, why not both, right? Because Michael Pittman Jr. has some similar traits to Drake London as a receiver, but Darnell Mooney is a vertical threat type of receiver, but he's also got some really good hands to go along with it, despite dropping a Hail Mary against the Browns. Now, Darnell Mooney had a breakout sophomore campaign in Chicago, 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns, and then we saw major regression in 2022 and 2023, where he was just not a good fit with Justin Fields. And if Atlanta trades for Justin Fields, I don't know if Darnell Mooney will be joining him in Atlanta. But Darnell Mooney, a 5th-round pick out of Tulane. PFF, I did not go with Spotrac's projection. It was wildly overestimated. But PFF projects that he can get a 1-year, $9 million contract. And I still feel like that's probably a little bit on the high side. So it could be a 1-year, $6-7 million kind of prove-it-ish contract, if you will. And if that's the case, I can get behind Darnell Mooney. I saw some really good play out of him in 2021. We're looking for vertical threats on this team. And Darnell Mooney does bring that explosive play factor down the field, whoever is quarterback in this team in 2024. Now, if they sign Darnell Mooney, we're talking updated cap space now of about $35 million. So remember, they have to completely redo their entire wide receiver room. So you can still sign Michael Pittman, Darnell Mooney, and you could also draft a wide receiver. Now, before we get on to the rest of today's show, quick reminder here, help us reach 20,000 subscribers. We're at around 19,200-ish, give or take, and we are 800 away from 20,000 subs, which is actually pretty crazy to say out loud. And I want to get there before free agency truly kicks off on March 11th. So if you have not joined the channel yet, please consider going ahead and doing so. Moving on to our fourth free agent target, which is cornerback Stephon Gilmore. Former NFL Defensive Player of the Year with the New England Patriots. He's bounced around a little bit since then, but I thought he had a pretty solid year at the Cowboys last season. Trayvon Diggs went down. Stephon Gilmore and Deron Bland were thrust into maybe bigger roles than initially anticipated. And Gilmore didn't have one of the best years of his NFL career, but he still had a pretty strong year. 13 pass breakups and 2 interceptions. Now he's definitely aging, turns 34 years old in September. PFF projects that he could get a 1-year, $10 million contract. As for Pro Football Focus's individual player rankings, they had Gilmore at 35 out of 127 qualifying corners. I think Gilmore is kind of in that tier of cornerbacks that he's been so good for so long. Even at 33, 34, he can still play some really good football for you. But why are we talking about signing Stephon Gilmore, right? You probably didn't expect to see his name on today's video. Well, when we look at Atlanta's cornerback room, it definitely doesn't look like Jeff Okudah is coming back. Trey Flowers is a free agent. Clark Phillips saw some more snaps down the stretch at the end of the year, the rookie out of Utah. But I think Gilmore can serve as a great bridge at CB2. If they don't feel like Clark Phillips is ready out the gate to take over that starting role, put Stephon Gilmore in there. That way Clark Phillips week 1 doesn't feel like he's drowning. And if as the season progresses, you see some good things out of Clark Phillips in the slot, or you see Gilmore start to regress a little bit with his age, you can make a change. But I think it's a valuable veteran insurance policy to bring Stephon Gilmore down to Atlanta to help, whether it's Clark Phillips or even a rookie if they draft one in day 2 of the draft, to serve as a bridge to that long-term CB2 job. Now, if they sign Stephon Gilmore, we are down to about $25 million in cap space. So still, they got some money left to spend. There is plenty left in the piggy bank. And with that being said, we're going to look at the 5th and final free agent target in just a moment. But I do want to ask an off-the-wall question. Speaking of defense, who's your favorite Falcons defender of all time? Who is it on defense? Usually, their favorite Falcons player is Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Michael Vick. They all play offense. I want to know your favorite defensive player all time. 5th and final free agent target. How about a re-signing? Defensive end Calais Campbell, former NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year, an invaluable member of any team's locker room. Calais Campbell is aging like a fine wine. I mean, despite going into his mid-30s, he still was very productive for Atlanta last year. 10 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, tied with Bud Dupree at the top of the team, right? And Campbell recently did an interview with the AJC, and he talked about returning in 2024. And here's what he said. The last time I talked to Terry, he told me to let him know when I know. He was definitely eager to get me back if I want to play football again. But he was going to respect my process and let me go through it the way I go through it. If I'm Atlanta, I offer him a 1-year, $6 million contract. Last year, he got a 1-year, $7 million, so I don't mean to shortchange Calais Campbell, but as you get a little bit older, the contracts are going to go down. But even if it's 1 year, $7 million, the same as last year, that's fine with me. But I'd like to see Calais Campbell return. You can still go out and draft an edge rusher, but I think this serves as a good veteran presence in the locker room and overall just a great rotational piece on this defensive line where Atlanta is not in a spot where they can start getting ahead of their skis a little bit thinking, well, if we draft Dallas Turner, we're good at edge rusher. No, this franchise has been one of the worst pass rushing franchises in NFL history. More is more. And if they sign Calais Campbell, now they've got about $19-ish million after all the other previous signings we went through. So, sure, we spent a shit ton of Arthur Blank's money. And I don't care. That's the whole point of owning a team. To spend your money to bring a championship to your city. So, if we look at the free agent targets we talked about today, Danielle Hunter, Michael Pittman Jr., Darnell Mooney, Stephon Gilmore, and Calais Campbell. What do we think of them? How would you grade my free agent signings? A, B, C, D, or F? I try to keep it somewhat realistic because I don't think Josh Allen and Brian Burns and T. Higgins are going to be available for the Atlanta Falcons. But I think those other guys have a very real shot of walking away from their current team. So how would you grade my signings? Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. We got a super chat coming in from Mr. Ed Garrett. What's going on, Ed? In a taste of irony, the Vikings get raided. Cousins and Hunter may be wishful thinking, but it would be awesome. I don't know if you... I get the irony part now. The Vikings, which, by the way, it's kind of funny if you think about in sports sometimes, the names that people get very upset about, and you know what I'm talking about? Do people think Vikings were good people? When in history were Vikings like stand-up model citizens? We're like, oh my God, we're saved. We can see the Vikings boats coming for our island now. Like, when are people going to come after the Vikings? Because they don't have a great track record. But anyway, it would be talk about the Minnesota Falcons or the Atlanta Vikings if Kirk Cousins and Danielle Hunter come down to ATL. Ed, I really appreciate your super chat. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Okay, let's look at our free agent targets. What are we thinking here? First off, the grades. Jamie giving me a B. I got a D-. JT with an F. Guys, you guys are tough sometimes, not going to lie. Vikings were loving people. Michael Taylor, you go read, what was the old book series we read growing up? Magic Treehouse, and go hang out with the Vikings in Denmark in the 800s, and let me know if they were loving people. Archangel giving me a B. Okay, we'll take it. What else? What are some other grades for this right here? Get those grades into the chat right now. 225 people tuned in at the moment. Only 86 likes. Reminder, if you just joined our live show today, hit the thumbs up button. And by the way, if you did just join, we are doing a really cool super chat giveaway. $10 super chat. You get entered into a Michael Vick autographed jersey giveaway. So we're actually going to do this all month long, and then we'll do that raffle at the end of February. So make sure you tune in for our final show in February, and we're going to do that raffle at that point. But $10 super chat, that's all it takes for you to potentially win a Michael Vick autographed jersey. There we go. Okay. John Hendricks wants that jersey. John Hendricks wants it. Let's see. Jason, B+. Samuel, B or A-. Hudson giving me a B. Archangel giving me a B. Al Smith giving me a B+. Michael Rodriguez giving me a B. Michael Taylor says dibs. All right, well, that's how that works. He just called shotgun, basically. He called shotgun on this jersey. Got to respect the rules of shotgun. Okay, everyone knows that if you're in sight of the car. All right, we do have a mailbag coming up next. Hashtag Falcons, or you can super chat. We've already had 3 super chatters today. They're going to be on the mailbag, so include, if you super chat a question, that goes to the front of the mailbag. If you just super chat for the sake of super chatting, we greatly appreciate it. We'll end the mailbag with the super chats just for the sake of super chatting. Does that make sense? As I say that, we got a super chat coming in with a question. Let's see. Okay. Throw it on screen. I just got to respond to something right here. Okay. Fire away. And Moot Shane. Is it Mutt that... Wow. I feel like English is now my second language. Isn't Nate Landman a free agent, re-signed? Yes and no. Nate Landman is a exclusive rights free agent. So, I'm trying to think of like the most simplistic way to explain this. I think Nate Landman was a UDFA. He was a UDFA. I can't remember what year he was though. 2022. Okay. So, if you sign a UDFA and they are on your team for the duration of their UDFA contract, when that contract expires, you're not an unrestricted free agent, meaning you can go sign wherever you want, okay? You are an exclusive rights free agent, which means a team can place a draft pick on your contract And if another team wants to sign you, they have to send that draft pick over to the Atlanta Falcons. I'm 99% sure that's the exclusive one versus the restricted one. The restricted one is that team has first dibs. It's like a dibs policy. The exclusive one is, well, we're going to re-sign you, and if anyone else wants you, they have to give us whatever draft pick we labeled. And obviously, you can't just put a first on anyone, but depending on the draft pick you put on that player, that's how much you're paying them. I got to fact check my own self because I haven't looked at the exclusive rights definition in a little bit, but that's off the top of my head, the memory of it. I'm just going to double check my own work right now. This is making for great radio. But I'm like 90% sure.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure you guys super chat if you guys want to get on the show. We're about to do a mailbag here on Falcons Today. Super chat. Get
Super
involved.
chat. Let's see. Yeah. Maybe there's no. I can't remember the draft pick part comes into play, but it is a player that's been on a team for two or fewer seasons, and they accept a qualifying offer, and they are unable to negotiate with other teams. Okay. So basically, his only option is if the Atlanta Falcons give him an offer, he has to take it. He's not going anywhere. Mutt Shane, I hope that answers your question. Okay. Are we ready for our mailbag? Okay. Hashtag Falcons or Super Chat. Mutt Shane will include this question in our mailbag earlier on, and then the other Super Chats are just not questions. We'll include at the end of the mailbag. That make sense? Okay. Here we go. Let's do it. Mailbag time here on Falcons Today. I'm Matthew Peterson, answering questions that were asked during our live show, which airs every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. First one coming in from Chris Lakin, 05. Any chance the Falcons trade Kyle Pitts to move up in the draft? I don't think it's a 0% chance. I do think there could be some truth to the Falcons using Kyle Pitts to maybe move up in the draft if another team has interest in Pitts, right? When you look at Kyle Pitts' 3 years with the Falcons, really strong rookie season, missed time with a knee injury in 2022, and then 2023 just couldn't really put it together. There was no real chemistry. He had some nice games at stretches. I think the Jets game he had a really good outing, but definitely did not look like the 4th overall pick really at any point in the 2023 season. I don't think any team is going to make Kyle Pitts the make or break element of a trade for Atlanta to move up and get a quarterback, right? Let's say the Patriots decide, all right, we really don't like Jayden Daniels or Drake Maye, and we're open to trading the 3rd overall pick. And the Falcons call and be like, we got an offer for you, and it's X, Y, and Z and Kyle Pitts. I don't think the Patriots are going to go, if you don't include Pitts, we're not doing this deal. Or you have to include Pitts, right? Like, I just don't think we see enough out of Kyle Pitts for him to actually have that much weight to a trade. So for that reason, I feel like he's going to stay in Atlanta. They could just trade him just for the sake of trading him because another team offers a 3rd or 4th round pick and Atlanta feels like that's their best course of action. But I don't think Kyle Pitts will be a part of a trade up. Now, would you trade Kyle Pitts? Are you done with the former Florida Gator? Or do you want to hold on to him and pick up his 5th-year option and get 2 more years of Kyle Pitts, pretty much? Let me know down below in the comment section whether or not you would like to trade Kyle Pitts. Mutt Shane, what's going on? Isn't Nate Landman a free agent? Re-signed. He is an exclusive rights free agent. So you've got unrestricted free agents, restricted free agents, and exclusive rights free agents, which means the Falcons can make him a qualifying offer, and he has 2 options. Accept it or don't play football. He's going to accept it. So, yes, he is a free agent, but he's going to get re-signed. Don't worry about this one. Ed Garrett, in a taste of irony, the Vikings get raided. Cousins and Hunter may be wishful thinking, but it would be awesome. I feel like there has been some traction to Kirk Cousins leaving Minnesota the last few weeks. I don't know if it's real traction or if it's, hey, it's the NFL offseason. We're looking for stuff to talk about, and let's kind of just stretch the latest on Kirk Cousins. My gut is Kirk Cousins resigns. Danielle Hunter is no longer a Viking. Diego, is Caleb worth 2 first and second rounders? Usually the kinds of trades don't work out, but we have a great system. Well, let's say the Chicago Bears. I think the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams, but if they have a change of heart and they decide Justin Fields is our guy and the first overall pick is up for grabs, the issue is a lot of teams are going to make offers, and teams like the Washington Commanders at number 2 could be more appealing to Chicago because they only fall from 1 to 2, and then they could trade back again if they really wanted to. But surface level, if you want to jump from 8 to 1, talking pick swap this year, next 2025 first, and probably a 2026 first, and maybe a second rounder. I mean, go look at what it cost Bryce Young, what it cost the Carolina Panthers to go from 9 to 1. 8 to 1 is not going to be very far off. There may not be a high-level player like DJ Moore, but 2 additional firsts and 2 to 3 additional seconds and thirds are probably going to be in play. Now, before we get on to the rest of the questions on today's mailbag, really quickly, there's an awesome deal at Fanatics I want to share with you all, which is this Falcons hat and t-shirt combination. You're not just getting one, you're getting both these things, and they're on sale. 2 for on sale. You can't beat it. Chatsports.com/ATL combo. Use our link to get that sale. Alex, what's going on, dude? Should the Falcons draft J.J. McCarthy with the 8th pick? No. I don't think J.J. McCarthy is worth the 8th overall selection. And I'm not coming from a place of you got to draft players in the right spots. If you truly do believe J.J. McCarthy is the surefire thing, go get him. People might have laughed at teams for drafting Tom Brady in the first round, but looking back, that'd be a great selection, even if the mock drafter said he should go day 3. But my issue with drafting J.J. McCarthy number 1 or in the first round isn't because we have a round 2 grade on him. It's because I don't have enough tape of him making big throws down the field last year and the year before at Michigan to know whether or not he can make those types of throws in the NFL. It's just too big of a risk for me at number 8. Round number 2, if it doesn't work out, okay. It's a round 2 pick that you missed on. 8th overall pick, you can't bat 500. You got to bat 1,000 when you pick top 10. And J.J. McCarthy, I'm just not interested in that risk because I didn't see enough downfield passing from him at Michigan to be confident whether or not he can do that in the NFL. Luke, what's going on, dude? I'm really into getting Kirk, then draft a rookie QB in the second round and let him sit behind Kirk for a year or 2. I'm not against that at all. If you can get Kirk Cousins for an appropriate price and you like a quarterback in round 2 or round 3, you are killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You are maximizing the 2024, the 2025, 2026 Falcons with a proven quarterback like Kirk Cousins, and you are also setting yourself up for success long-term potentially by letting a rookie quarterback sit for a year or 2 behind Kirk Cousins and develop and then take over from Captain Kirk. And if that round 2, round 3 quarterback doesn't work out, okay. Yes, you don't want to miss day 2 picks, but at the end of the day, round 2 and round 3 picks are not going to be the things that make or break franchises. Getting the quarterback position wrong will. And if you pass on Kirk Cousins because you, I don't know, like some other free agent quarterback, whatever it might be, that can derail you, right? But I'm okay with picking a quarterback and with signing Kirk Cousins and drafting a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd rounds of the draft. Eric Ortiz, do you see Carson Wentz being an option considering how he looked under Zach Robinson with the Rams? I do think they'll kick the tires on Carson Wentz, right? Raheem Morris, he has some familiarity, and so does Zach Robinson with Carson Wentz. I don't think they're going to look to bring him in to compete for the starting job, though, right? I think if he does come to Atlanta, it's to serve as a clear-cut backup. And they learned how important it is to have a good backup quarterback, right? In LA the last 2 years, Matthew Stafford has missed time. They should come to Atlanta with the expectation their backup quarterback will start a game. And if he doesn't, awesome. You're playing with house money. But you should not bank on your starter playing all 17 games. It's a coin flip. Last year, half the quarterbacks went down. Could be you. It might not be you. But I wouldn't play Russian roulette. without having a good idea of who my backup QB is. Rob Garrett, no chance they trade for Mac Jones, right? Give it a very low chance. I wouldn't say no chance. I mean, Raheem Morris was pretty honest in his press conference about looking for quarterbacks through free agency, the draft, and trade. And sure, Justin Fields is the most obvious trade target, but Mac Jones could be viewed as a quarterback that Atlanta thinks the Patriots ultimately did him dirty, and we saw some great stuff out of him in his rookie season. I'm getting really sour on Mac Jones, though. I think he is in that Sam Darnold tier now of what once was a very good potential quarterback is now in that it's going to make a great backup quarterback for some teams. But if Atlanta goes to like plan C, plan D, plan E at quarterback, maybe Mac Jones for a 7th isn't the worst thing, at least competition-wise. And, hey, if it doesn't work out, you're out a late day 3 pick. And if it does work out, man, you won the lottery, 1 in a million chance kind of what looked to be one man's trash is another man's treasure. Now, let me know, would you trade for Mac Jones? I'm not interested in trading a pick below the 7th round for Mac Jones. But a 7th rounder for Mac Jones, go tell me the last 7th round pick for the Falcons that played meaningful football for them for 5, 6, 7 years. It is worth the risk of if it doesn't work out, boo-hoo, it costs you a 7th rounder. Brody Brown, should we draft Bo Nix? Nope. I don't like Bo Nix. I've got 2 quarterback tiers. Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, Jayden Daniels, in that order. In my second quarterback tier, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix. Now, Penix could swap with McCarthy after the combine if there were concerns about his injury history, but if all the concerns check out, I'm not going to forget about the great throws that Michael Penix made last year compared to the great handoffs that J.J. McCarthy made. Nick Thatch, what's going on, dude? Should we get Justin Fields? I like Justin Fields a lot. The Falcons are going to work through their quarterback rankings, but if the Falcons trade for Justin Fields, I'll be very happy about that. I think that would be a very good trade for Atlanta. I'm a Justin Fields believer. I think he can be a very good starting level franchise quarterback for a team. Sign me up. I'm in. Mark me down as a Justin Fields believer. If it doesn't work out, you can crucify me, hang me like Mussolini, but I am in on Justin Fields. What's going on, Mr. Minor? Can't pass up on Rome Odunze. I think Rome Odunze and Malik Nabers are going to make fantastic receivers. We can even throw up Rome Odunze's stats from 2023 here. He was a very prolific receiver for the Washington Huskies. He had some great games with them. I mean, he started the season off, I think, with like four straight 100-plus yard games here, okay? Here we go. Let's look at Rome Odunze's stats from 2023 next to Malik Nabers. 92 grabs, 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, an average of 17.8. He is fast, and he is big. You usually get one or the other. You usually don't get both. And when you do get both, that's why they tend to go top 10. I get some Drake London vibes from Rome Odunze, whereas Malik Nabers is a much more explosive player. So should the Falcons get Rome Odunze, it's tough to say what they should do in the draft right now before we get through free agency. But I'll tell you what, if someone from the future comes to tell me back in time, Atlanta drafts Rome Odunze, I'm not going to be upset about that pick. Okay, that's going to be it for our mailbag today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate everyone who takes time out of their day, as always, to come hang out with us. We will sign off and see you all later. You know what's funny? Last year, and some of you might be in the chat, and you might know who you are, some people came at me for wanting Lamar Jackson over Desmond Ridder. That was the thing I had to deal with. Lamar Jackson just won MVP, and Desmond Ridder is likely done as a starter. So, for those of you that hate my Justin Fields desires, ask yourself, what side of the fence were you on last offseason? Just going to throw that out there. Okay, before we get on out of here, I just want to remind you guys about our awesome Super Chat menu. And also, thank you to all of our Super Chatters today. I know we had some Super Chats that flew in from Taylor, from Ed, from Mutt Shane. And then the first one is escaping me, and I can't remember. Luke. Thank you. Yes, Luke. Thank you to all of our super chatters who support the show. We could not do this without you guys, so really appreciate you. And hey, if you want to get an autographed Michael Vick jersey, it's a $10 super chat all month long, and that will get you entered into a giveaway raffle we are doing at the end of the month. So this is the rest of our super chat menu. I really appreciate, though, everyone who supports the channel. You guys make my Thursday afternoons that much better. I love hanging out with you all, talking Falcons, talking ball. Really appreciate everyone for tuning into today's show. We'll sign off. We'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your Thursday afternoon, and we'll see you all later.